This episode of Source Mama is brought to you by Dairy Farmers A2 Goodness plus prebiotic milk. We've heard a lot about the importance of good gut bugs, but what these tiny organisms eat to survive is just as vital. They feed on prebiotics. And a super easy way to get prebiotics into your kids' diet is through the milk they drink. Containing only the A2 protein plus added prebiotics, Dairy Farmers A2 Goodness Plus Prebiotics is goodness from free-roaming, pasture-raised cows. Dairy Farmers, here's to good. We invite you to join the most exclusive, inclusive club for special needs mamas, Source Mama. Unapologetically candid, uncut and heartbreakingly real, whilst uniting, elevating and fiercely empowering. Join the greatest pride of lionesses ever to have walked the earth at sourcemama.com.au or Instagram or Facebook, follow at Source Mama. I'm Rachael Williams and I'm really excited to be your host for the inaugural and ongoing Source Mama podcast. And today we're joined by one of the most amazing women I know, the founder of Source Kids magazine, which then grew to become a Source Kids Expo that's inspired and helped hundreds and thousands of people around the country, and now the creator of the media phenomenon that is going to be Source Mama. I am, of course, talking about the beautiful Emma Price. Welcome, Emma.
Hi, Rach. How you going?
I'm so well, and I'm so excited that we can finally meet up via the online world to launch Source Mama podcasts.
Absolutely. It's very exciting. This has been a little while in the making, so I'm really excited to get our podcasts up and going, as well as everything else that we've got planned for Source Mama.
Now, I know you're one of these amazing superwomen who doesn't really sleep, I don't think. Let's go back a little bit to the start of your journey, because I know a lot of people do know your amazing story and that of your family, but let's actually go back to the beginning. Why did Source Mama evolve from Source Kids?
Yeah, well, I guess, we, as most people know in our story, we had a little girl, Charlotte, who had Angelman syndrome. And she was diagnosed when she was 1 year old with the rare condition. And I guess we were thrown into this world of, special needs parenting that, was really uncharted waters, and we had no idea what we were in for. We were thrown in a diagnosis on a piece of paper and sent off to research some medical websites. So, and I know many others stories and starts to their special needs parenting journey is really similar. So I guess we battled through it for a couple of years and tried to find all of the help that we could. We tried to arm ourselves with all the information, but I guess there was lots of information out there, but it was really out of date. It was not relevant to Charlotte's needs, and it was just so hard to find good information. And so I guess, I can remember James and I, my husband, were holidaying in Noosa, having a little child-free time. As you do. Subsequently, we now live here. But, we had a little getaway at the time, and I remember being in the pool, and we'd met up with some other friends up here who were doing a similar thing in a completely different industry. But I was like, well, why isn't there like one source of information that everyone can go to that's going to go and find the best information and the best products out there and the best services and put it into one spot so people don't have to waste their time, going out to find it. And I guess that's where Source Kids started, in a pool in Noosa.
Well, that's a wonderful story. A lot of things have probably started in a pool in Noosa, but we won't go there today. Why did you then decide to go down this track of doing the podcast, which we're launching today?
Yeah, I think, having spent quite a number of years now building Source Kids, we started back in 2014, so 6 years ago. And, from where we started, I've seen the growth in what we do at Source Kids. And, we started as this little magazine, and I think printed about 1,000 copies of a 40-page mag and had a really skeleton staff and a website we put together. But over the 6 years, I've seen the growth that's come about because of helping so many families, and we've grown on to become launch a whole range of different channels. And when we first started, social media didn't exist, so obviously we now have all of our social media channels and 12,000 people on our email subscriber base that are all wanting information. And obviously our expos that have now launched, and our magazine, which has gone from strength to strength over the years. So I think whilst Source Kids has a really strong importance in the community, it's really about empowering and educating families so that they can make sure their child's got access to the best of the best products, services to help them. But, it became apparent along the way that, there wasn't much out there for the mums. And, it's a really important audience. The special needs mums wear a really heavy load on their shoulders. And, we wanted to develop something that was going to help support them.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your experience as a special needs mum. You've obviously got two beautiful, healthy, bouncing boys in your life, plus James, your husband.
Three.
So definitely three. Let's talk a little bit about Charlotte. Now, obviously, the last few weeks have been really tough for you and your family because it was the anniversary of her passing, which still makes me feel really tingly and teary. What was it like looking back at Charlotte's life? How difficult really was it for you as a first-time mum, being overwhelmed by that diagnosis and having to live that reality?
Yeah, I think, we've spent a lot of time reflecting over the last few weeks, and, I think back to those early days, and, it was, for her, it was always a struggle. For most kids with special needs, they try so hard. There's so much therapy, there's so much that they need to focus on and work on, and, the simplest of skills takes such a long time to be able to acquire and master, I guess. So I look back and I just think, how determined she was, and to reach those milestones, and how amazing it was to see her reach those, do something that we'd been working for months on. And how, it was so satisfying for her to see her accomplish something. And she had a little bit of a sass about her when she, finally managed to do something. So, I just reflect back on her, and she's, was just the most beautiful girl. And I think anyone that met Charlotte would agree. She was fairly endearing. She was a social little miss. It was nothing for her to grab a complete stranger into a bear grip hug, which is fairly notorious.
She wouldn't have coped very well with COVID-19, would she?
Oh, we've had a few giggles through COVID, just, reflecting back, thinking, wow, there would be no social distancing with Charlotte. Like, she didn't get the concept. So it would have been a really, really challenging time for us. I don't think we would have been able to leave home.
I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I really feel that the world, especially in the Australian disability sector, is a better place because of her. And she's left this amazing legacy now that you and James and your boys are continuing to go through. Like, that's kudos to you. Like, that is such an amazing thing to be able to keep fighting that fight for her, and on behalf of all the thousands of people around the country that are still fighting that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important. And, you hear other mums who have lost kids, and, it's all about making their lives count, making sure that, they've had an impact on the world. And, Charlotte wasn't here for a long time, but, she certainly made a big impact in the time that she was here. And, we wouldn't be where we are today. There's no way, 11 years ago, before Charlotte was born, that I would have thought that I would be doing what I do now. I was doing marketing and media and comms. As we've worked together for a long time pre-Source now. So, it's certainly not a path that I would have ever chosen nor thought that I would go down. And I think, she's forced, our entire family down this, this pathway and this journey. And even Ollie's just so excited. And we had, was driving to school the other day and Source Kids was on the radio and they were talking about, it was early in the year, about, our brand ambassadors, and he was like, Mum, Source Kids is famous. We're on the radio. So, he's so proud. And it's just, I'm super proud of everything that, our team's been able to achieve and what has, what impact she's made on the world.
Yeah. One word that you've used and is used regularly amongst people who have children with a disability is that isolation. Did you experience that yourself? Because I know that this Source Mama group really is aimed at reducing those isolation elements.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a different path being a special needs mum. And I think once you're sort of thrust into this new world and, your other friendship groups and everyone that you've known along the way are going in a different path to you. They're going left, you're going right, and your experiences are so much different to theirs. So I think it can be really isolating. You lose track of, you lose touch, I suppose, with friends, and you lose relevance to friends because your social life changes. It's not as easy just to whip around to someone's house for a barbie on the weekends. And I guess, even from a work point of view, many parents are challenged with what they're able to, do from a work capacity because, the caring role is fairly significant and, time consuming as well. So, and, the energy levels as well. So, it is really isolating. And, I guess that's why Source Mama started was, to really build that connection and that support network for particularly the mums out there who are, typically the CEOs of the families, and they're the multitaskers and they're juggling multiple things at any one time. So, it's really important to, I think, break down the silos and help them out of that, feeling of isolation and that there's no one there for them and no one that understands what they're going through.
I think one thing that I've noticed, having been involved with Source Kids from its very first beginning, that we discussed it over a bottle of bubbles one day, and now, to hosting elements of your expos and now being so proud to be involved with the podcast. One thing I've really noticed is how amazing and supportive the network of people involved with Source Kids and the disability sector in general really are. You're so optimistic. Always see, the glass half full when you would be forgiven for doing the exact opposite. What is it about either, the disability sector or the actual Source Kids family that you've helped create that helps you get through these really challenging times?
Yeah, I think community in the disability space is really important for families, and I've been really, really lucky right from the beginning of when Charlotte was diagnosed. I've had an amazing support network around me. And I remember when she was first diagnosed, I came across a website called Molly's Voice and connected with her mum, Megan Cross, who, along with another beautiful mum, Jen, set up the Foundation of Angelman Syndrome Therapeutics. And, they were really focused on research and trying to find a cure for the condition. But I guess along with that came an amazing friendship, an amazing community of other parents raising kids with Angelman. And, we'd share stories and we'd, celebrate all the highs that, come with, parenting and achievements. We'd share advice and information, but we'd also be there for each other when it was, the lowest of lows, when our kids were in hospital, when they were battling seizures and when meds wouldn't be able to, overcome the seizures and things like that. And, I've been super, super lucky to have such an incredible group around me. And even now, with Charlotte not being here, they're still my family. I'm still watching on and seeing their kids grow and so proud of what their kids are doing and achieving. And, they're constantly checking in with me. I'll get, messages and calls and whatnot just to check in that I'm okay and that our family's okay. So I've been really, really lucky, but I guess there's lots of people out there that aren't so lucky, that haven't been fortunate enough to have that kind of community around them. So I guess, again, it's where Source Mama comes in. And, I've taken my experiences, and particularly over the last 12 months, my community have been incredible. And, obviously they've looked on at what we've gone through, and, you know, no doubt they've thought many times, well, that could have been us, or that could still be us, because, you know, seizures in Angelman syndrome are a very real, a real worry, and they're very hard to control and manage. So I'm sure lots of them, you know, have been looking on thinking, wow, that could have very easily been us. But despite it all, they're still been really, really encouraging and really supportive of, you know, and, you know, been there for us when we've needed them.
And I suppose this the Facebook group that you've established associated with Source Mama, that's a private, really safe space for people to go and discuss their fears and concerns and celebrate their milestones.
Yes, yes. I've been blown away by just the openness and the honesty that's come with our closed Facebook group, and across all of our channels, really. We're only, with Source Mama, our channels, we're only about maybe 10 weeks new now. We launched during the depths of COVID, and we've only been around a short time. But, you know, phenomenally, we've got huge support out there. We've got 700 community members that are so engaged, and, you know, so find it such a valuable space to share. And, you know, we're having lots of people out there saying, oh, hey, this is me, this is my kids, this is, you know, what I love to do, or, you know, asking for advice about particular subjects, or trying to find, you know, providers and things like that, or even just picking each other up when things are low. We had a beautiful story the other day of one mum, and she posted in our page that she was really just didn't feel like she fitted in anywhere. She, you know, she didn't have a child at this school. She didn't have that car. She didn't have this particular house, and whatnot. And she just said, I just don't feel like I really fit anywhere. And one of the other gorgeous mamas on the page said, well, I think you've just found your place. So, you know, it's awesome to hear those kind of comments on there, because that's what we're really striving to be, is a really safe place where people are happy to, you know, air their dirty laundry. If they're having a really bad day, they're able to say it, and, you know, there's no judgment, because we all wear the same wear the same hat, and we all have great days, and we all have some pretty low days as well. So it's just awesome. I'm just so happy we've been able to create that, and, you know, it's growing so much as well. We've got more and more people joining every day.
What's the we mentioned a minute ago about how when you first started, social media wasn't even a thing. Gosh, we're so old now, aren't we? What's been the biggest change during your Source Kids journey that you've noticed, you know, that can now allow you to obviously do these Facebook groups and podcasts, like, compared to when you started to now? What's been the biggest change for you?
I think for our industry, it's certainly the NDIS. It's been the biggest game changer over the last few years for many families, and for the industry. So I guess with the NDIS, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. It hasn't always been a perfect journey, and there's lots of families that have really struggled coming to grips with NDIS. There's been a lot of, I think, I can't think of the word, but, you know, not a fair outcome for all. So some families have had great outcomes and great packages, and then you've got other people that just don't get nearly enough dollars to cover the most basic of, you know, continence aids or something like that. So I think it's been definitely. I think, you know, there's been a lot of learnings along the way, and I think families are growing with it. I think the NDIA have learnt along the way as well, and I think everyone's sort of starting to, you know, get some successes out of it. And I'm hearing so many, you know, great success stories out there of families that, you know, people achieving amazing things through being able to participate in particular programs, or get the right therapy that they need, or have the right products and services that allow them to, you know, live a really fulfilled life. So I think lots of learnings, but, you know, great success stories now. And I think our industry overall has benefited. I mean, it's been a really challenging industry to navigate across the last 6 years, as from a business point of view as well. There's not a lot of providers in that space. So the NDIS is seeing a lot more providers, a lot more products, services, tech that's, you know, really cool, innovative tech products out there. And I think it's, you know, it's sort of revolutionised the industry a lot. It's gone from, you know, all the equipment being a nice hospital shade of grey or blue or something, you know, ugly like that, to being really fun and vibrant, and the industry, I think, is really thinking about the end user and what their needs are, rather than just, this is what we've got, so you'll just have that.
And what about inclusion? I know that you've got the Dylan Alcotts of the world who get out there and say it as it is when it needs to be said. But you've also got, you know, mums in the suburbs who have gained this confidence and ability to actually call out things when they're not right. And they've been given platforms now on traditional media, and also obviously new modern media, to actually be able to get their stories across, which historically they would never have even dreamed of being able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree. It's fantastic. It's, you know, it's bringing inclusion to the forefront of so many people's minds now. And I know that just in general, the community is so much more accepting of disability these days. Like, there's still a long way to go, don't get me wrong. But, you know, campaigns around, you know, stop staring and say hello, those kind of campaigns were fantastic, because that was one thing that always used to really bug me. We'd go out into the community and, you know, people would be too frightened. They'd sort of stare at us and look, and they'd be too frightened to, you know, come up and say hi. And I just felt like saying, come over, say hi. You know, Charlotte won't bite. She might give you a massive bear hug, but, you know, or stranglehold, but, you know, she's not going to bite. So I think that's, you know, that's been a really great thing. And so many advocates out there for their kids standing up and setting the record straight and calling people, you know, when they make, you know, calls about using particular language through the media. You know, tennis players who have, you know, I won't name names, but used a word that was fairly inappropriate for, you know, in society these days. So, you know, that putting those people to task and making them think about, you know, what they're saying and doing and how that makes others feel.
What else needs to change, Emma?
Lots. I think we've come a long way. I think, you know, inclusion's a big one. I think, you know, accessibility is a big one. I think there's been a lot of improvements made, but I still think there can be better accessibility across a range of, you know, through technology, through, you know, being out and about in the community, you know, shops and places of businesses and restaurants, making sure that they're accommodating. The amount of restaurants that I've been in with a pram, that it's, you know, amount of people in restaurants that walk through and, you know, run a coffee right in front of Charlotte's arms, and she's got really quick hands. So, you know, just those sorts of things, just that awareness and accessibility of venues, shops, footpaths that have no ending, and you're trying to take a stroller that's not meant for off-road. So I think that's a big one. But the other area that I think could improve quite a bit is around connection for families. I think, you know, despite everyone's best attempts, you know, there's still a lot of families out there really struggling and really just, you know, getting one foot in front of the other, and sometimes not even that. So I think, you know, there's, as we've already talked about, there's a lot of isolation out there. There's a lot of families that just really need some support. They just really need a break, I think. So, you know, hopefully the work that we're doing will, you know, help with that as well over time. As we grow and reach more families, we hope that we can help that. And obviously other programs and you know, channels out there that are also, you know, not doing exactly what we're doing, but similar in a way to support families.
So we'd hope to be able to do these podcasts in person. Obviously, COVID has prevented that. I'm down here in freezing Tassie, and you're up in that sunny sunshine state, but our borders aren't open to one another. How challenging has COVID been for you and your business, and what you've been trying to do? Obviously, it's helped as far as giving you time at home to sit down and do some projects.
Yeah, it's been a big change, but I think as a business we've really pivoted and been able to amend what we do and change and grow and roll out some new digital content that has been able to, you know, counteract the challenges, which is really around physically being able to get a magazine out there. Has been really hard for us because, you know, for a long time their schools were closed. So, you know, they're a big channel for us getting the magazine out there. And also, of course, our expos, where, you know, we've been so excited. We're busting to get them underway and roll them out. So that's been really hard because our audience needs don't go away. They still need to find products and services and equipment, and the businesses supporting them still need a way of being able to reach them and interact. So, you know, there's this really, really big need for our expos to occur. It's been, 12 months now since we've been able to run one. So we're really excited. We're hoping that Brisbane will be able to run at the end of November. We're fairly confident.
So start getting my
crossed,
bikini body ready, shall I?
Hopefully our borders are open for you. But yeah, I think, some of the great stuff we've done though, is, we've really flipped, and we produced some digital magazines, and they were huge. Like the response to them, we did a 3-part COVID series tackling all the, sort of the when everyone was in the depths of COVID, and then sort of the road to recovery, and then the recovery that wasn't really quite a recovery because obviously, some states were affected by a second stage of COVID. So, we've adapted, we've rolled out a lot more digital content. We pushed go on Source Mama really quickly in the end. It was always our plan to launch it, but we did it in a much bigger way than what we had originally planned, and put a lot more effort and focus in it, because it was really apparent once sort of everyone got through the shock of COVID and it hitting everyone that, then it became the next stage where parents were like, oh, I'm not coping. I need some support. I need to connect with other people because I'm home with my child, my family, and I'm really struggling here. So yeah, so I think whilst, COVID's been a really, really scary time for a lot of people, we've been able to adapt pretty quickly, and I guess we're a pretty small organisation, so we're fairly fluid in the way that we can adapt and change our plans fairly quickly.
Now, I probably know the answer to this final question because I know you and you don't like to sit still for very long. But what's next for Source Kids, Source Mama? Where are you headed?
There's always something on the horizon, as you very well know. James, my husband, every time I say, hey, I've got an idea, he just cringes. He's like, Emma, stop. But, I won't stop till we fully achieve what our plans are and grow bigger than what we are. So Source Mama will be launching a brand new event series, which is going to be delivered in a fairly unique way, and that will create a really intimate and indulgent experience for the mums out there. We've got some great digital channels rolling out for Source Mama as well. So that's really exciting. Some new our Source Mama Lives, which will be coming in the next couple of weeks. And that'll be some other sort of, live chats with various people along the way and between the Source Mama girls. So look out for that one. And of course, over at Source Kids, we've got some really innovative new tech stuff on its way that we'll be rolling out. So some new channels and new ways of being able to help people. So there's, without giving too much away, there's always lots going on, which is how we roll at Source Kids. It's what we do. We're innovators here, and we've got an incredible team that, everyone's just so passionate about what we do that, we're constantly coming up with new ideas and innovations and ways of doing things, which is great. I love it.
You certainly, you certainly are amazing, and your team is as well. So a big thank you for everything that you do on behalf of the entire disability community Australia-wide. And a big thank you for being my first guest on the inaugural Source Mama podcast. It must be time to finish up because I need a water.
Pleasure. I can't wait to listen into the... Pleasure. Thanks for chatting, and we love you. We all the team here at Source Kids and Source Mama love you to bits. So we can't wait to listen into the rest of the podcast and the other awesome mums that you're going to chat to.
Yeah. Well, I'm very proud to be a part of your family, and thank you so much. And we really look forward to your company over the coming weeks as we meet lots of very interesting guests that Emma has got lined up for us with the Source Mama podcast. So a big thank you for listening in today, and make sure you keep tuning in into the future. This episode of Source Mama is brought to you by Dairy Farmers A2 Goodness plus Prebiotic milk. We've heard a lot about the importance of good gut bugs, but what these tiny organisms eat to survive is just as vital. They feed on prebiotics. And a super easy way to get prebiotics into your kids' diet is through the milk they drink. Containing only the A2 protein plus added prebiotics, Dairy Farmers A2 Goodness plus Prebiotics is goodness from free-roaming, pasture-raised cows. Dairy Farmers, here's to good.